Hello and welcome to the Warhammer Podcast, episode 98. I'm your host, Brad. This is my co-host, Eric.
How's it going?
And we're gonna start a fight.
Very possibly.
Put on your boxing gloves, because we're gonna tell you opinions and make you angry, or make you agree with us, and that would be even more shocking.
Yeah, we're talking about what ugly models are in each range. So,
This will be a civil conversation for the ages.
Yeah, definitely.
So without any further ado, let's start this fight club.
Sounds good.
So, before we get into the actual showdown here, there's a couple disclaimers, and then we should explain the rules of how we picked our models. So, disclaimer up front, we're not bashing on the people who modeled these or anyone specific, should they be publicly known.
And, don't do that. We will ban you from the comments if you do that kind of shit.
Yeah, that's cringe.
It is cringe, yes.
That's how you talk to the YouTube audience, Eric. You just tell them they're cringe if they do it, and then they're like, I don't want to be cringe. Also, disclaimer, these are opinions. Eric and I, without even organizing between each other to not pick duplicates, picked very different the whole way through. We changed very few of these to have no duplicates.
Yeah, it's almost like we're different people and have different opinions and styles on art in general. Wow.
Art is subjective? Yeah, you're probably not going to agree with at least one of us, since we're not agreeing on any of these, or possibly both of us, and you may think your favorite model ever is my least favorite ever in a range. But that is what it is.
And then finally, not all ranges are equal. There's some ranges that have 8 models and others that have way more.
Yeah, and to give us the rules of engagement for how we picked these, because I was a little picky with what I picked. Eric, did you have any stipulations?
I don't really. So I tried to keep it pretty new and stuff that's actually available. Well, stuff that's listed on Games Workshop's website, but I didn't stick to it very stringently. So I think you held a higher grade to yourself.
So this was mostly to force myself to think. I banned picking Finecast models. In several ranges, in many ranges, Finecast model is the worst model almost every time. There are some good looking Finecast models that are just miserable to put together, but a lot of them are horrendously ugly.
Well, and then there's just the fact that it's old, and it's compare it to some of this new stuff, and it's let's not have our list be every model that's 20 years old.
In addition, I also said no Forge World, because I think in a lot of cases Forge World is the worst looking thing, or the odd man out where it doesn't look right with the rest of the faction, and so I tried not to do the easy ones because I wanted this to have some interest to it. Should we just start off with Space Marines?
I guess, and old Marine joke. Haha.
I did not choose generic old Marine just to troll people.
I would have been disappointed if you did, because it's don't kick the toddler in the room, Brad.
Yeah, it's part of I try to challenge myself on the things I have in this list. I didn't go for basic joke just because it's a joke. I tried to actually think.
So I don't know, do you want to go with yours or do you want to...
Let's start with yours. I think yours is going to be one that a lot of people agree with.
Desolation Squad. Why is there an orc gun on all of these Space Marine models?
I hate that I like this.
It's such a, put those guns on orc models and I'm fucking excited. I would legitimately think it's one of the coolest fucking kits ever, but it's not. These are Space Marines. What are you doing?
They wrap around on the stupidity level, all the way back. Sort of like I talk about with the Wraith Guards, where the heads are so stupid with the giant pinball head that it's the coolest thing ever.
Yeah.
The gun that has rocket launchers, but for some reason has a chain gun feed from a backpack that doesn't go where the rockets are anyway.
Yeah, right.
The rockets are bigger than the loady thing.
It's an orc gun. It doesn't exist by any realism in even the remotest sense.
It's stupid as hell. I like it because it's so dumb, but I definitely understand this being people's least favorite model.
Yeah, I can't accept it. But what do you have, since you didn't go with just generic old Marine thing?
So I didn't do just the easy one. However, it's technically an old Marine model, that era at least. It is not just a basic tactical Marine though. This is a model that has been sitting on a shelf in my local game store for a very long time. And every time I see it, I get a little twinge of irrational anger because I hate how it looks. And this is kind of like the jumping off point of let's do this episode this week for me. recently of like, I was visiting and I saw it. I'm like, I still hate this model. And I was like, didn't we want to do an ugly model episode? We should do it because I'm in the mood. So this model, our mystery, is the Vindicator. For those of you who don't know, that's the rhino with a shovel, and I can't even call it a turret. It's got a gun coming out the front that is not part of a turret. It is literally just a giant gun that would go all the way through this rhino.
Yeah, it looks like it should be like the spot for like a front end loader bucket, since like it would go with the bulldozer, and then they're just like, well, no, plate over this top area and just put a gun there.
And I'm just imagining like trying to aim this. You're moving your entire tank that has a giant shovel on the front, trying to angle it so that you can actually fire.
It exists only for, I don't know, maybe like you scoop things up with the bulldozer and it's like it's starting to clog, so you just fire the gun and break up whatever.
The ground's slightly uneven, where you would have to, use the vertical aim on a turret. And you just can't.
Quick, roll on the tactical rock. It'll give us the elevation we need to shoot.
I guess that's what you could use your front loader for, is to like push down slightly so that you're not aiming 2 feet in front of you.
You build the terrain to your advantage.
Yeah, I hate the Vindicator. I've made it obvious before that I hate the Chode gun options on the Leman Russ. The Vindicator is that to the extreme.
It's hilarious because, like, the same thing of you with the Desolation Squad of, like...
where it's so stupid someone might like it.
I'm kind of on the same thing with the Vindicator. Of, like, it's so fucking stupid, but, like, it's a bulldozer, right? Come on, man.
If it was a Genestealer Cult unit, I could probably give it a pass.
Oh, yeah. But then, like, the gun is still stupid. Even that. All right, let's move on.
Let's just do the rest of the Marines.
Yeah, let's just get it out of the way.
So, before we get into it, I tried to do no duplicates, so I never picked the same thing twice. So if I have it for a faction later, I'm not allowed to say it now.
Right, especially, like, CSM.
And I also have it where, for these special Snowflake Marines, your Dark Angels, your Blood Angels, all these, it can't be a generic Space Marine unit. Then we can't just, like, keep picking those. It has to be a Blood Angels only unit.
Yeah.
So, my pick of the Blood Angels specific units, I think the Death Company is horrendous looking. Having helped my brother try to paint his, they're awful, miserable, as many tchotchkes all over them as Grey Knights have, but it serves nothing because these models are just so ugly.
I don't think they're that bad, but there's a lot of things that are like, why?
I don't have too much to say. There's not that many Blood Angels units that are worth bringing up in the first place. Sanguinary Guard are bad, but I think Death Company is that like 5% worse.
I don't hate them, but that's fair.
They all need updates.
They do need updates, yes. Okay, I went with Astaroth the Grim because...
You don't like the Axeman?
What the fuck is this model?
I love that he's got the worst parts of Mephiston, the worst parts of Dante, and it's on a model that's ancient.
And then, like, you've got wings, but, like, the scrolls are holding him up clearly, and the wings are doing nothing, and, like...
Yeah, that's just a sculpt issue, though. I like the idea. It could work.
It could work. There is an interesting idea there, but the wings have no dynamic to it to, like, show, like, oh, it's like, oh, the wings are helping fly, and it's like, so clearly the scrolls are the ones holding him 3 feet off the ground.
I love his toes.
And then there's the toes. Yes.
And then he's got the Power Rangers. He's got Zed's, like, flesh suit.
It's weird. Everything about the model is just kind of weird. And like, I don't hate it. I think, like, if they did an update and kept the general ideas and tweaked it, it could look very cool. But for right now, you're an ugly model. Let's move on to Dark Angels.
Yeah, Dark Angels is a little weird since we're in the middle of spoilers for Dark Angels right now, and hopefully these don't get changed over in the week that this comes out.
Nah, that would never happen. That's never happened to anything we've ever done.
If we got announced new models this week for Dark Angels, and they're the ones we mention here, we caused those to happen. You have to thank us, Dark Angel players.
But only if they're actually good and better.
All right, so what do you have for Dark Angels?
I don't know. Honestly, I've never seen this before, but I was looking on the GW website, and this is something that they sell. So the company Veterans.
Is it still in the index?
I couldn't find it, but I didn't look very hard. I'll be honest. I looked at it and I was like, they sell it, and this looks terrible. So it's my pick.
Fair enough. Yeah, I agree with you. They're bad. I get the idea of them.
I get as well. Like, I'm like, I don't know what to say, because the fact that the robes hide any interestingness is like, that's the intent. This is an interesting idea, but like, you've removed all uniqueness and it's just a dude in a robe.
I don't hate the concept. I feel like it's just, it suffers from, it's old, so it's a bad take on it. And I feel like you could do the exact same outfit on a Marine, Primaris scale him so that he's got better proportions.
I was going to say, the fact that old proportions do not help this at all.
They're not helping. They remind me of the little guys who steal C-3PO and R2-D2.
Yes. Yeah, the sand.
Jawas?
Sounds right.
The little dudes who are like the tech guys who sell crap.
Yes. It's got the like shrunkenness aspect because of the hoods and stuff.
I feel like you could do it. It would look good if you redid it. What will never look good, no matter how much you redo it, is the Land Speeder Vengeance. This model sucks. I had like 4 possible picks for Dark Angels. They're all Ravenwing. Ravenwing looks bad, guys. There's no getting around how bad Ravenwing in general looks, but I think the Land Speeder Vengeance sums up my distaste.
The silhouette I don't hate, but the fact that the driver and the gunner and the commander, I guess, are all exposed is just like, what?
I don't like storm speeders that much, but the land speeders are really bad. And looking at this model, it's got all the ornamentation I don't like. It suffers from all of the old model bad proportions that the land speeder always suffers from, but it's built upon because it has to have the extra fanciness to it. I will never like a land speeder, and this is basically the worst one, so it's the perfect one to put on a list.
I can't say anything against that, yeah.
It's number 1. You don't want to tell them about the contest you won, though.
Yeah. Okay, Black Templars.
Did you pick the same one as me still here?
I just don't have anything, really.
I will give Black Templars this. Yes, I make fun of you a lot as a faction. Yes, you deserve it. But you have one of my favorite Space Marine models.
The one that you picked is probably the one that I like the least, but like I still enjoy aspects of it, so.
The Emperor's Champion is an amazing model. It is probably my favorite Space Marine. However, you also have Grimaldus and his stupid, ugly face with the weird grinny thing going on. It's so dumb.
I don't know, I think it's fine.
The helmet is so bad on him. It is the worst helmet in at least Black Templars, possibly Space Marines. You took my least favorite helmet design, the piggy face, and you modified it into this freakish smile thing.
It is a bit weird.
It doesn't help that he's surrounded by like 3 dudes in his actual kit he's sold as, and they look like Chaos Cultists, which I'm sure is like part of the joke of it, is that they look like Chaos Cultists. You can't tell the difference, haha.
Yeah, but like, I don't know, the thing is like, overall, the model looks cool. Like, I get what you're saying, the smile, the helmet.
Again, Black Templars in general has some of the very good looking Marines for actual models. I will forever make fun of you, but you got some style points there.
All right, next up.
Next up, we can't say the same thing for.
Space Wolves.
Oh, Space Wolves. You're so easy to pick on.
Yeah.
Just imagine, I banned myself from Finecast and Space Wolves, everybody. Your first 5 models you're thinking of probably can't even be picked. It's just a very deep hole of bad-looking models.
Yeah, I'll go first, because I just chose the Fenrisian Wolves because it looks like a dollar store toy.
That's a fair reason. I actually like the Fenrisian Wolves, kinda. They're dated.
It still looks like a dollar store toy.
I really get it, especially with like the GW typical paint scheme on them.
Yeah, that does not help it at all.
No, I get the pick. It doesn't reach the top 10 for me. There's a lot of ugly Space Wolves.
There are a lot of options for this category. Remember when we said not everything is equal? Well,
some of them have a lot of choices. So for Space Wolves, I have to pick the Wolfen. I could pick on some old character and find one that's not actually fine cast and is just ancient. It's not as offensive as a model that's this new and this bad.
I just love that, like, the picture that you have here, at least, like, the way that it's all posed, and this one is front and center, is just like, witness me.
Yeah, they're so ugly. You took the concept of super jacked up, transhuman, giant monster men to begin with and turned them into werewolves. You can't go wrong.
It sounds like something that's just like a slam dunk.
Yeah, you can't go wrong with that, and yet you found a way.
It's wild.
Yeah, it's rough looking at Wolfen. I'm very glad they've been unplayable for 2 editions.
Yeah.
So let's move on to Deathwatch and wrap up Marines and get on to the rest of 40k.
All right, then.
Deathwatch is a very small range. It's like 4 kits. Of all of them, there's nothing overly offensive. I'm just picking Kill Team Cassius because it's old Marines. It doesn't have any of the charm that like the veteran kit has, where it's got the cool shields I actually like.
Yeah.
This is just boring through and through.
I disagree it being boring, but it's not the same in comparison to the veterans.
Yeah. And then, Eric, do you have one that you'll pick?
The Watchmaster, I guess.
I actually really like the Watchmaster. I love that he has a Custodes weapon.
I feel like that's a major reason why I don't like him.
I kind of love it. It's aggravating from like imagine you're playing Custodes and this guy rolls up and he has your weapon and you're like, why does the Space Marine get my special crap?
Yeah.
The Space Marine already gets everything else. Why did they get my special thing?
And that's like kind of the thing is I don't dislike this model at all. It was one of those, like, if I had to choose something out of the ones, I guess the Watchmaster, just because like it doesn't seem like it goes together, but I still like the model. All right, that's finally Marines done.
All right, let's get to all the unimportant factions in 40k. Everything else.
All right, perfect. Let's continue with Sisters then.
Sisters, okay, real talk. Sisters is a rough one to pick.
Yeah, it is.
I like almost every Sisters model.
Yeah, I love their tank ideas. Like,
the model I picked is unoffensive. It's not as good as the rest.
Fair enough.
This is where we get into like, there are ones where I'm just picking something because I have to pick something, even though it's not bad. It's just the worst of the bunch.
So what'd you pick?
I picked Juneth Erutia. My main reason is I do not like the pulpit thing. I don't like her ride. Her ride has no drip.
I kind of disagree. Like, it's such a unique take that I'm like, all right, fair.
And that could be something that saves it, is that there ain't nothing else like it, but I'm not here for it.
That's kind of the thing, though, is like, once you have something that's so unique, there's gonna be people that are like, that's fucking stupid. And then there's gonna be a couple people that are like, yeah, all right, that's cool. And I think it's kind of cool, but I absolutely understand what you're saying.
There's still redeeming facts. Like, I love the double melta at the bottom that has the skeleton guys sculpted on it. That part's beautiful. I don't like the whole layout. So what do you have, Eric?
I went with Canonus Viridian.
Oh, that's the promo model, isn't it? Like the throwback model to like the old cover.
Yeah, no, it's not doing it for me.
You don't like the awkward pose?
No, it's like grandma trying to be dommy mommy kind of thing, and it's just not working for you. You can't do that anymore. Sorry.
20 years ago, maybe.
Yeah, like 20 years, you would have been right in my strike zone. Like, yep, yes, ma'am. But nope.
Her leg is just weird to me.
Yeah.
It feels like it's placed too high.
She's trying way too hard.
I know the original image. I get what it's supposed to be, but like, no. I get it. It's not that bad to me.
I think the problem is it's so close to being what I want.
Shout out to whoever at GW did the official paint job on her. That bolter is like one of my favorite hazard stripes I've seen on an official GW model. I know that's like a really weird thing to compliment, but I really like that. And I never get to see hazard stripes I like on GW paint jobs. But on this one, it's killer.
I mean, I think the paint job is pretty solid on this one, definitely.
It's the actual piece you don't like, which I get.
Yeah.
What is wrong with you? I just scrolled down to Custodes.
What, you don't like the Mr. Armless?
Okay. If you're literally picking it because he doesn't have arms on the base model.
No, I'm picking the Telemon because it's fucking derpy and stupid. It's like a Castellan robot that is not cute and cuddly.
I love the Telemon.
It's stupid and derpy. It's awful, especially for Custodes. Like, it could maybe work in some of the other factions that, like, okay, you don't have the best equipment, whatever. Custodes is supposed to be like, you got the best, coolest shit ever, bro, and this is what you get.
I'll admit, the two Custodes exclusive Contemptor Dreads, the Achilles and the other one, I like them for Custodes. They match Custodes better than the Telemon does. I get that argument.
Such a derpy model. It has no redeeming qualities.
Oh, I like it. So my thing, okay, I couldn't pick a resin kit to begin with, or it would have been the Terminators that I don't like, the Forge World ones.
Fair enough, yeah.
I just went with the basic Custodian Guard, because honestly, I like pretty much all of their GW line, and I think the Custodian Guard have some weird proportion.
Is it because you don't like all of the filigree and it gives you PTSD?
No. I think it's their proportions are slightly off. Like, the shoulder pads are 10% too big, and their thigh is like a couple inches too short in their scale.
I see what you're saying.
There's something where they look like kids playing dress up in the basic Custodian Guard. The Warden kind of fixes it. It's got the better leg loadout with the half draped, half a robe thing going on. I kind of like that. And honestly, the range is good. These are still fine looking. It's just if I have to complain about one of them that's plastic, I'm going to pick, I guess, just the basic Custodian Guard.
That's fair. And like a couple of them, because of their posing, show it off a little bit more than the others.
Yes. Than like in the Wardens where they're in a more classic pose.
Exactly. All right, fair enough.
You fucker. I read your AdMech one.
AdMech. I like every AdMech model. I can bitch and complain about rules, costs, all of that as much as I want. But at the end of the day, if I ignore all of that and I'm just looking at the sculpts, I like each and every model for different reasons sometimes. Like Castellan robots, they're just kind of cute.
They are.
There's none that I think are ugly. So I just couldn't pick one.
I am picking one. I understand completely what you're saying, though. We talked about it previously when we were doing our final picks, and I like everything in AdMech, but I think the Tech Priest Engine Seer is definitely a cut below everybody else. And I'm aware that I'm like 99% sure he's pre-AdMech and was like an old guard model, I believe, is the story.
Really?
I vaguely remember being told this before by comments, but I feel like that perfectly explain to me why I don't feel like he's as good as the rest of the range.
I could see that. There is definitely some bits missing, I guess.
His legs are very fat.
Yeah.
He's got none of the drip that later AdMech models would get up top. I feel like he's not weird enough.
It's all roughly there. And I think that's why I still like it, but like it doesn't have that like final edit pass, add these things.
Compare him to the Dominus, the Manipulus, like put him next to other HQs.
Yeah.
They have so much character compared to him.
It's not even close.
It's true. AdMech's just beautiful in general. They've got some beautiful kits. All right, let's do Imperial Guard then.
So I've got a couple actually. I couldn't decide, and I was like, you know what? I cheated on AdMech already. I've cheated a couple times. You know what? I could do it the other way too.
So I always forced myself to have a final choice, but there are several of these where I could mention others that I was debating between. So what ones do you have in Guard?
So the Ogrins were the one that like, when we had this, I was like, oh man, the Ogrins are they're so ugly.
I like the Bulgrins. I actually like them, but I totally get your thoughts on the Ogrins.
It's tough because like it's like if I had to choose, I would choose my other one because like I feel like they purposefully made the sculpt facial expressions as ugly as possible, you know?
Yeah, it's kind of like the point of it.
We took, you know, like some of those like front page articles of whatever kind of paparazzi bullshit, and it's like we found out of 7,000 images the most ugliest looking image of you, and we chose that one, and it's like, That's what they chose here.
Honestly, with the Ogrins, do you know what's weird? The thing that upsets me most is the ones that are wearing the wife beaters instead of just completely bare-chested.
Yeah, like there's no reason to have the wife beater on at that point.
No, it's beyond t-shirt save difference. It just don't have the shirt on. You look cooler.
It's true. Yeah.
But anyway, what's your actual pick then?
After, like, actually taking a look at it, Primaris Psyker is such a fucking stupid looking model. And the posing is like, no, please, give me that Coke.
Throw me a Coke, bro.
You're supposed to be a psyker. You're supposed to be cool. What happened?
Reaching for the beer bottle that's getting chucked.
Yeah, like, what happened, man?
He's yelling, he said, no, I said, hand it to me. So you throw it across the room.
Yeah, it, like, clearly wasn't, didn't have the psychic ability to just get it himself. It was like, oh, no, I can't believe you've done this. And the staff, it's just stupid looking.
Okay, so your pick's out of the way. Mine...
Oh, Jesus.
Mine is the actual pick. I don't know why you didn't pick them. It's the Catagen Jungle Fighters.
Yeah.
If you picked him, I'd be like, I'm not changing. We're picking the same one. The guy up front on the GW image trying to sell you this is the worst model I've ever seen. He's so stupid.
It's somehow the Ogren picture choice thing, but even worse.
You have no reason they should look like this.
No. Oh, god damn.
The longer I'm staring at this image, I'm like, I can't even tell you why I hate it so much. Just look at the guy in the front.
I like it because it's so, the longer I look at it, the more I'm like, that's perfect.
So yeah, Catagen Jungle Fighters could use an update this millennia.
Fair enough.
All right, Eric, it's time for your faction.
Grey Knights.
And I'm going first. It's the baby carrier. It was never not going to be the baby carrier.
It was never not going to be, but I actually secretly love it. Like, I really actually like that model a lot.
It is one where I totally understand this being someone's jam. It's like when there's an AOS army you don't jive with, but you respect it.
Yeah, I absolutely understand, baby carrier, and, most people are like, that's stupid. But I'm just like, he needed bigger guns, so he jumped in a mech, even though he's in a fucking mech suit, essentially, already. I love it in a stupid way.
All right, so tell us that you picked Kaldor Drago, because we all knew.
It's a stupid fucking sword. I hate that model with just such a burning passion.
I think it's my wife's least favorite model, having painted it.
It's not a terrible looking model, but it's got no real redeeming qualities compared to everything else.
It's a terrible looking model. When you put him next to the rest of your models.
That's the thing, is if you put him next to basically even the other models that haven't been updated, he still looks bad. It's supposed to be Kaldor Drago. He's supposed to be super cool.
Okay, so let's move to Imperial Knights, and this gets into the whole, they're so close together.
Which one did you pick?
I picked the Night Warden. It's the same as every other build of a Questoris chassis, but I just picked one. To say this, the Questoris chassis is way worse than Cerastus. I also like Armigers better, and if it came down to the Tyrant, or whatever you loyalists call him, but the Tyrant or Questoris, I like the Tyrant better too. So I just think I have to pick the Questoris chassis, and I'll just randomly pick the Warden to represent it as my least favorite. Although, to be honest, I own 4 of these. They're Chaos Knights, but they're the same thing. I own 4 of these.
Yeah, and there's only so many, so.
Eric, why did you choose my son?
Cerastus Castigator.
He's plastic now.
That knee joint is stupid. It very much, the entire model to me looks like they took a normal knight and grabbed him by the head and grabbed him by the feet and stretched really fucking hard and broke his knees. And so now he's taller. And then they gave him this weird wimpy ass looking sword.
I love the sword.
That's the kind of dagger that Bilbo Baggins used. Give me a real fucking sword.
No, I love his sword.
No, it's stupid and pathetic.
If you had picked the Lancer, we'd be having words. The Lancer, you can't beat that Lance. The hollow shield that's like just the outline of a shield that's got...
I really do like the shield, yes.
It's very unique.
It's very cool.
All right, for possibly one of the first times we've ever talked about them in an every faction video, we've got Agents of the Imperium.
Yay, they exist.
They're here to get made fun of. All right, so Agents of the Imperium actually has some cool stuff.
It does. I actually really like a bunch of the assassins.
And I think the Inquisitors don't look bad. Like, I make fun of Xenos not being a great book, even though people hype it up, or at least people that tried to get me into lore did. I still think that these models look good.
Can we really hate on a section that has an ape, an actual literal ape as a model?
The Jakaro is sweet. The worst part is you don't even understand what Jakaros are in lore and all that, and I'm not going to deal with this in the middle of this episode.
No, and I probably wouldn't care either way.
They're cooler than half of the stuff the Imperium's got going on.
I figured it was like Planet of the Apes.
Imagine if you're like, we must kill all Xenos, except for the monkey over there, because it's the only thing that knows how to repair this station I live on.
Brilliant.
Jakaros are cool. But anyway, the only thing I've got that I think is pretty bad, especially when you consider how new it is, it's the Exaction Squad.
Cannot believe you chose this.
It's just police officer dudes.
Do you not see the cute puppy? Fuck you.
You cannot pull the Warhammer community, oh, the whole thing could look like garbage, but there's a cute animal on the side so I can get you to focus over there. You can't pull that on me.
I absolutely can.
They do it every AOS release.
It's a cute puppy. Your opinion is no longer valid. There's a cute puppy.
Eric, that dog is a narc. He's gonna sniff you at the airport and get you full body searched. Ask me how I know.
Oh, I mean, most likely. But it's still a good puppy.
All right, what are you picking, Eric?
I went with the Kill Team Inquisitorial Agents just because, I don't know, man. There's something wrong with each and every one of them.
I really like the scribe guy, I gotta say. The dude with 2 auto quills going away on the piece of paper.
Yeah, I feel like the fire confuses me on that model.
Yeah, it's Imperium.
And that's why I'm like, each and every one of these has something that kind of just irritates me.
I don't have an issue with picking this. It's pretty boring compared to the competition.
Yeah.
And to be honest, Agents of the Imperium is essentially a model collection. It's not like an army. It's cool, lore-heavy, usually models that are little one-offs.
And it's nice that they have some of that stuff where it's just we did interesting thing. I think that's finally the Imperium.
All right, let's move into Chaos. You want to just start with Demons then?
May as well. Let's get yours out of the way.
Okay, mine's easy. I did the basic thing. I know I was supposed to think, but I can't. I can't not pick you. Soul Grinder. You terrible piece of shit.
There was no way that you would have gotten away with not saying Soul Grinder.
I hate this model.
Yeah.
Moving on.
Epidemius. What?
It is clearly fine cast. I could never have picked this. It's against the rules of what I could pick. And it's a horrible model. It looks like a chunk of resin that was malformed when you actually see it unpainted.
Yeah. Basically, all I can say is what happened here. This doesn't make any sense.
I'm pretty sure those are supposed to be Nurglings under him, by the way. They're just not.
They're just not, is the problem.
It should not shock you that this is a Warhammer Fantasy Battles legal model, by the way.
Yeah, right. And if this was unpainted, it would be oh shit, what do I paint this as? You know, there'd be a bunch of, I can see a flag, I can see a bell, and then there's just a blob.
And then you start moving south, and you're I guess there's a sword over here.
Yeah, and this is an hourglass?
I don't even know if you could make that out unpainted.
Yeah,
it would just look like more bulbous blobs.
It would. It absolutely would. And, it doesn't make any sense of why it's an hourglass. So maybe it's not even, and that's just what the painter decided it was. But there's other demons that I could have chosen, but I saw this one, and... All right, Chaos Knights.
Chaos Knights has really good kits. I'm just going to pick the Despoiler, which is a repeat because you could build a Warden if it was Loyalist. But it's unequivocally the worst thing you could build in this faction, which it's still fine. I still own multiple of this, as I said before. It's fine, but it's not as awesome as some of the other ones.
I think it's my pick as well, just because Chaos Knights just overall are cooler looking because they have a bit more character than Imperial Knights, and this is just like an Imperial Knight, but Chaos. It's still a cool model.
It's not like a heavy pick. This is like a I had to pick something pick.
Yeah.
However, I will very strongly pick my Chaos Space Marines pick.
All right. What do you got?
Chaos Bikers. I was scrolling through Chaos, and I was like, I don't know what I want to pick. I like a lot of Chaos. Oh, the Bikers.
You.
They're up there with the Vindicator of something that has sat rotting on the local game store's shelf for forever. It's like right at chest height. The box has been facing forward for forever, and every time I look at it, I'm like, this is the stupidest thing.
Yeah.
It's one of the few models on my list that gives me a visceral reaction of, I hate this model.
Honestly, there's not too much I could say to defend it.
All right, what's your pick for CSM?
I went with Huron Blackheart.
Yeah, he's way cooler from like what he's supposed to look like versus this ancient model.
I think the problem is it's just an ancient model and I feel bad, but like it's so starkly different. There's so much potential.
Just look at him on the cover of his book.
Yeah, it's the same dude, but like
way cooler.
One is intimidating and the other looks like he's about to die. And it's very much because this is just an older model. Like, I feels bad about picking this one because of that. I look at it and I'm like, there's some cool shit going on here and there's like great potential. And like seeing that cover image, it's like, yeah, there's a lot of cool potential here. But like the current model, sorry, no. And what the fuck is what?
I don't know what the little dude is. I gotta read the Huron Blackheart deep lore.
It's almost so ugly, it's endearing.
I kind of like it. That's your average AOS bonus model right there. The distraction. All right, let's talk about the one that's purposefully ugly. What's the ugliest thing in Death Guard, Eric?
Yeah, it's like, hold on a second. Let's think about what we mean by ugly again, because like there's some really cool models that are extremely ugly, but that's why they're so cool and that's why they are Death Guard. But ugly as in like, no, this isn't a particularly exciting model. Malignant Plaguecaster is my pick on that one.
I kind of like him.
I think it's boring.
I could see boring. There's a couple Death Guard models I can accuse of boring.
And that's the thing is like the worst thing I can say about basically any Death Guard model for me is like there's a couple that are kind of boring. I like the range quite a bit, but this one's kind of boring in comparison. So I'm just like, I think it could have done better, but you're still fine.
Okay, so I could have really angered everybody with what I thought was going to be my pick.
Oh, really?
It was going to be the Plague Burst Crawler.
You're a fucking idiot.
It is the worst Death Guard model.
No, it's not.
It doesn't scream Death Guard like the rest of the range does. It's out of place.
Okay, I can accept that, but it's still a cool model, so.
However.
Oh, fine, yeah.
I hadn't burned the Defiler yet.
Wow.
So we're picking the Defiler. Because this model, it can be played in many factions, but this model should be played in none of them. And it should be a crime to bring it to a table. We made the Soul Grinder worse.
Or better. No, it's worse.
This is like a 3D interpretation of a 5-year-old's drawing.
It kind of is.
His chest is a giant gun, and he's got a tiny little head up top.
Yeah.
And the stiff, like, whip arm he has that's just, ugh.
Yeah, it was like the poor original artist of the 5-year-old didn't know how to properly give like action appearances to the whip.
He wanted it to look like the Hell Brutes.
Yeah. But like couldn't really think of how to draw that correctly and was like, this is the whip. And then like, oh, yeah, it's just going to be that hard, solid whip, right? That's what you want. It's really just the Soul Grinder, but worse.
It is.
I don't hate the Soul Grinder as much as you do. I don't think it fits.
Half of the Soul Grinder's problem is that it's Chaos Demons. But it's still not a good looking model, even if it was like a CSM model. The Defiler is just a strict downgrade from there.
It is. Oh, Thousand Suns.
Time for my faction.
Yeah,
I think we had the same problem with it, didn't we?
probably.
I think we just like how Thousand Suns look.
It's a cool faction.
It's got a decent aesthetic. If you don't like the aesthetic, then it's just the whole faction isn't for you.
Very much so. And like, I make fun of Zongors a lot.
I make fun of them for like meta reasons of getting jammed into everything because they're cheap and nobody wants them. But I can't say I dislike the Zongor sculpt. I really like them. I'm very proud of my Zongor shamans and my Zongor on discs. I love how they turned out.
It looks good, but like, I'm still going to continue to make fun of them. Don't get me wrong, but like, you know, we're talking about ugly models and the Zongors are solid.
I would accept if someone said for the Zongors they're out of place and therefore it's a pick.
Yeah, I mean, for now.
But for out of place, one thing takes the cake, and it's the reason for my pick. The Hellbrute. It's not a bad kit. It's cool looking.
It is really fucking cool looking.
His problem is he's short. He is old dreadnought size. It's very pathetic when you put him on a board.
Yeah.
The like promo one where he's got one leg up to the side that I've got one of, that one's the cooler loadout than just the dreadnought stand A-posed.
Yeah, it's a bit like...
more dynamic.
Yeah. Helps the squatness kind of look.
Which is ironic because that one is like the easy to build slap together. This is the multi-pose one or whatever you want to say, but it's just stiff. But my problem with it isn't really the model. It's a cool model. I have no real issues with this model.
Which is why, like, I saw this before the show. I was like, Brad, what the fuck is wrong with you?
There are entire, like, retcon backlog reasons they had to, like, shove in to explain why this is playable in Thousand Suns after being questioned. Because, like, this has flesh. This is a dude.
Yeah.
You literally aren't a Thousand Sun.
But look, it's got those little eyes.
So... it is a model that should not be in the faction.
Extremely out of place.
But that's a Thousand Suns needs more, not less, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
That's why it's here for me.
It's a cool model, though.
It's a great model. It's just not a Thousand Suns looking model. And that's why the one that I have painted is a 3D print we made, which is based off the design of like a second edition Chaos Dreadnought, because apparently that used to be like a thing in metal. That's the one that I have painted up, and it looks so much better next to the rest of Thousand Suns.
It fits.
All right, but what do you have, Eric?
I went with Chaos Spawn.
Yeah, I don't use this model for a reason. It's also one of those models you should never buy. It's very expensive compared to the points it costs, and it's not good looking either.
Yeah, and that's the thing is, like, we can ignore, like, price at, like, some amount of, like, okay, let's step back and ignore that and look at it with fresh billionaire eyes.
It's weird to me, because in my head, I have something wrong where, like, I understand how bad this model is and why you picked it, but in my head, I'm like, but you can't pick the Chaos Spawn because of the excuse to go get wild with a 3D printer. But like that just proves the point, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's like that's exactly why. Like there's some really cool shit you can do with Chaos Spawn on 3D printing, and I mean there's some kit bashing stuff that you can do, and like very, very cool. But this model, it's lame in comparison. So disappointing out of what it is. But let's move on though.
All right, World Eater's up next then.
All right, I guess
yeah, you can explain yourself.
I picked the specific model, Warhammer Plus Year 2, World Eater's Terminator, so Azric the Annihilator. I think it just looks bad. Like, it looks like a poor modern take on an 80s show.
It's apparently based off a key art from a long time ago. I don't know this reference, though.
And that's cool. Again, this is my opinion. I don't know that reference. So...
and that's kind of my thing is, when you have to be told that, it already is losing ground, right?
Yeah.
No. The reference makes it not as hideous.
And I'm glad you enjoy it. That's awesome. But if you don't have that reference, this model's bad looking.
I think my major problem with this, right, is this is what it looks like with this specific paint job. Is this just the plainest looking model unpainted before you give it a like overdone non-metallic metal all over the place reference like art?
It has to be. It's a bunch of curved plates. It very much has a lot of the Imperial Knights problem of like it's just a bunch of plates. There's no cool filigree and...
oh no, he's covered in filigree. This would be a nightmare to paint the trim on. I can already tell.
Sure. But like, it doesn't have the actual...
the shape is very boring.
Yeah. You know, like the silhouette is just so bland.
It's a very fair pick. Mine is just bullying another character. It's Karn the Betrayer. Yes, I know he's like the only old World Eater model, which is why he looks worse than all the new ones.
And that's okay. Another problem is like World Eaters is a small range and just got updates.
Yeah, it was kind of hard to pick a World Eater. I'm not a big fan of 8-bound, but Karn the Betrayer just looks worse.
I think it's kind of cool, but yeah.
He's got great ideas.
He does, doesn't he?
You put him next to the new models and it just shows how much they've advanced.
Right, because they got this massive range update and you see Karn the Betrayer and you're like, all of these cool ideas could have been done. It could be so badass. And it's just not yet. And yeah, okay, fair enough.
It's not like a harsh pick for him. It's kind of unfair to bully him.
Yeah.
However, as we move into Xenos, I would like to do some bullying.
Yeah, okay. Aeldari.
The Space Wolves of Xenos. We have so many options.
God.
Which one would you like? I almost extra banned myself and made myself pick a range updated model so that I couldn't have such easy pickings.
Because, like, there's a bunch of old characters that, like, kind of obvious, but, like, I tried to find something that, like, actually stood out to me. The Swooping Hawks.
I can't disagree with you. You could pick basically any aspect warrior and I'm on board.
I feel like there's a possible way to paint it that doesn't look as stupid.
No, they're ancient, Eric. These are so old.
Yeah, these are... Swooping Hawks need some help.
So I almost forced myself to pick something that just got updated, but then I saw the Warwalker and I was like, no, fuck you. This is the one.
Are you telling me you don't think this is super cool looking?
AdMech did it better, that's all I'm saying. Yeah, the Warwalker, it's so bad. It's got the stupid legs, and then you get up to the top, and you've got an open cockpit that's vertical instead of horizontal. The guy's head sticks out of the cockpit, unshielded. Open to the world. Dead between two giant cannons. This is like the Space Marine ATV, but like it's also old, so it's like 10-folded on stupidity.
And then there's also the like underslung guns.
His double dicks.
How are you aiming those?
With his third.
Right. What are you doing there? I think the Warwalker's a very valid pick for this list.
All right, let's choose one that's a little harder. Drukhari.
All right.
So before we get to our picks, grotesques are not available on the store. Both of us had that as a requirement. You also can't do like Court of the Homunculus to pick some of the older kits in there.
I actually like the Court of the Homunculus, so.
I like them from an idea standpoint. Some updates could be made to stuff. Anyway,
yeah.
Basically all the things that we constantly have to fix in Drukhari just aren't even for sale anymore. God, I hope we're getting a range update.
Yeah, and there's the whole aspect of like, oh, but all of those models are perfect 3D prints. Like, yeah, well, that's because they're old and you can't get them anymore anyways, so.
Yeah, so can't pick those, but out of what GW has, we all know I'm not a fan of witch cults.
Right.
I think Hellions best represent the witch cults, and the part I don't like.
But not the witches?
I like the witches more than the Hellions.
All right, then.
Look at their feet, Eric. Did you figure it out?
Do you have a feet problem?
It's weird, man. I already don't like the BDSM, the biker goth look stuff. That's not the part of Drukhari that appeals to me. And then you put them on 80s hoverboards and edge them up a bit more and give them bare feet for some reason and terribly sculpted abs.
Yeah, what the hell happened there?
He's got like a tire hanging off where his lower part of his abs should be. He's got that extra 10 pounds.
Yeah. No, I'm with you.
He knows that he should have lost the weight before the convention, but he just wanted to wear the outfit anyway. We've all been there.
It's true, but not a great look for the elf-like warriors.
He's so live. Oh, I'm so bloated today.
I think one of the things that irritates me about this kit is the fact that the wings are like angled down and their foot stance, like it's just not.
Oh yeah, they're all in massive pain after half an hour of flying like this. But Drukhari, so pain is blah blah blah.
Okay, I guess, yeah.
Yeah, I have 3D prints we made, partly out of necessity because the Hellion was like unpurchasable at the beginning of ninth, but partly because I like the 3D prints that are more subdued and not so weird. That's my pick. Eric, what do you have?
I went with Lilith Hesperax, and like I don't hate a bunch of parts of it. Like the whole goth punk aesthetic is fine to me. The thing that really pisses me off about this model is the fact that like it's not an elf. There's like kind of pointy ears, but like not really, and there's none of the like squat and shrunk, and like you're supposed to be the lithe assassin badass, but you don't look like an elf that does that. You look like a human.
I get what you're saying 100%. I think part of it was blamed on GW's paint job on their store. I do know that this, when it got revealed in 9th edition, it got made fun of to kingdom come.
I mean, it's also got the foot thing and all of that, and
but she's always had that. That's always been a joke. But her abs looked very chunky.
yeah.
There's no, this is a term I learned and have already forgotten, but there is a golden angle, I believe it's called, which is like the angle they sell you the model from. It like when you are spinning a model in your hand, you know there's a correct angle to view it from.
Right. So it's not like this dead pose kind of thing.
And she has an ugly side in some part of her, no matter where you're rotating her.
Mm-hmm.
There isn't a golden angle. She always has something wrong somewhere, which I believe was one of the main things people were pointing out with it. It is a model that has some issues. I totally get it. I know the face got made fun of a lot, but apparently that was a GW. Like when you actually have the model, a lot of people have done better faces. She looks really old in this.
Yeah, but there's nothing like from the sculpt part that looks like it's like a problem. But like all of the musculature is not evil elf. It screams
bodybuilder.
Right? Like
I get exactly what you're saying.
And it's so wrong for what I'm trying to get here. So yeah, that's the ugliest model for me.
Very fair.
Genestealers.
So Genestealers, yeah, this is one where like whether you like them or not, they're so on par the whole way through. And we got rid of the actual Genestealers, which was the worst part. The new Genestealer kit is not awful. I feel like I'm still grading it on a curve and I'll come down on it over time, but I'm just so glad it's not the old kit.
Yeah. And like there's definitely an aesthetic, and it's possible you don't like that, like the bald weirdness thing. I'm pretty sure you're not a huge fan of, but
I'm not, but at the same time, like they all have it, so it's like it doesn't show one model as worse.
Right, and like that's the thing that they've done. So
that said, there's a couple characters that I'm not the biggest fan of. You actually picked one of them, and I think you had the same reason I did.
Yeah, so the Locust is just out of place.
Bingo. It's not a bad model. It's very basic, but it's not a bad model. It's an AOS model.
It's a perfectly fine AOS model that would fit in really well, and it's got some cool parts to it. It's not exceptional, but like we just talked about the fact that Genestealers has a pretty core theme and its core identity, and this is not part of it.
Also, I'm pretty sure the Locust is supposed to be like the melee crazy good guy, but like they went for like the wise old monk look, and it doesn't scream like melee blender man.
No, it does not.
I don't even think I have a Locust, so I literally may not have read the data sheet in a long time now.
Yeah, but what'd you go with?
Mine is my actual least favorite of the bunch, which is the Sanctus, specifically when he has the blade. You can build him with the sniper rifle or the blade shown. With the sniper rifle, he kinda works. It sorta salvages his pose, and I don't hate that one that much, but with the blade, it looks so bad in my opinion.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying? Like
I do, actually.
Something about it, I'm sure it's some angle thing where like you can follow the cape up through all the way through the sniper rifle.
And I think that's exactly what it is there are queen lines with like, you know, the foot placement, the cape placement, the gun, whereas the dagger sword thing is just like perpendicular to so much of the other things.
Yeah, I hate his face in both versions. My version will not have this face, I promise you. The weird, creepy open mouth look is so bad.
Fair enough. Yeah, I mean, it's one of those that like I hadn't actually seen him with the sniper rifle, and like I kind of liked the Sanctus with the blade. It was like, yeah, okay, I can see what you're saying, but in comparison to the sniper, it's like definitely weaker.
All right, talking about one where it's difficult.
I'm gonna cheat again.
Yeah.
Votann. I like them all.
I get liking all of Votann. There's not much there anyway.
But you obviously have something.
I like dwarves better than elves. That said, the worst part of like Total War Warhammer dwarves and AOS dwarves and all that stuff is slayers, or, you know, naked dwarf with an axe.
The crazy dwarf that has decided, you know what would be fun? Instead of all of the cool armor that the Smiths put together that's really fucking good, I'm gonna just not.
Yeah. It doesn't do it for me. I don't like half-naked dwarves, so the Chthonian Berserkers is the obvious pick for me for Votann. It's slayers in space, and I don't like slayers.
No, that's fair. I mean, I think they're dope. Especially those axes. Fucking cool shit, man. And the big gloves. Oh, man. But, no, that's fair.
All right, moving on to one of my factions again for like the fourth time.
Necrons, what do you hate the most?
This was hard. I couldn't choose Finecast. I couldn't choose the Banana Man. It's the Banana Man.
It's the Banana Man, yeah.
But I actually don't like several kits in Necrons, weirdly enough.
I know you have a thing against the rib cages.
I don't like the ribcage aesthetic in general. I hate the Ghost Arc for several reasons.
I think it's so cool.
And then there's the old Locust Destroyers, which haven't been updated yet, and they're obviously old and badly sculpted compared to newer stuff.
It's a very stark difference, yeah. But is it, like, actually ugly?
And that's where it's like, it's just old. To me, the only one that's like, why are you like this? Where, like, I have an actual issue with the design is the Tomb Blades. I have seen people convert them into proper jet bikes, and it's so much better.
You don't like the Beyblade style?
Yeah, I don't like the weird hamster ball look to them. I guess they're trying for that, like, droid look from Star Wars.
I was just gonna say, like, it reminds me of, I forget what the exact droid is, but the roly ball droid.
Yes, the one with the shield from episode 1.
Yeah, and I kind of like it. Like, there's some problems with the model.
Oh, all of those bits and bobs on the back? Yeah, those just snap off.
Just like all of it put together is, yeah. But I like the fact that it's not just a bike. We have enough bikes.
We don't have many hover bikes.
Fine. But like the Necrons are supposed to be this like such an advanced alien thing.
Yeah, so you give them something truly alien.
Yeah. And so like that's why I think it's cool, because it's so different. But I get what you're saying of like, that's not really enough to make up for the fact that the model is kind of dumb looking.
Oh, they're so not cool.
Yeah.
It kind of is the epitome of like the part of the army I don't like is the warrior spam list. And like I don't like Necron generic vehicles all that much. I don't like warriors. When you have essentially warrior in a minimalized aesthetic of a Necron vehicle. Like they've still got the cockpit.
Yep.
It still has the curvy one rib. It has like literally every little piece from the large vehicles, but in small. And I think it just becomes the perfect storm of I don't like this.
Yeah, that's completely fair, and I can see what you're saying. But I can do you one better.
You're allowed to choose Finecast, Eric.
I am. And so I chose the C'tans that aren't the good one.
So Banana Man and Nightbringer.
And Transcendent.
Transcendent's not resin though.
I don't like it.
I actually don't fully hate the Transcendent C'tan. It could use an update, but not as bad as the other two.
The other two are awful. Yeah, we've got Deceiver and Nightbringer are just, honestly, they're just bad. Like, not even just like, oh, they're just old. They don't make any sense for being C'tan. At least, like, the Transcendent feels like, oh, this is a weird fucking thing.
The Transcendent C'tan is very clearly just you can rip it out of the center of, like, he's supposed to be the caged one.
Yeah.
And in his actual Tesseract Vault, Tesseract Labyrinth, Tesseract Arc? Whatever.
You're the war guy. You're saying a bunch of words together that make sense to me.
I know. I can't remember which one it is. But, like, his Tesseract version is cool as hell. Alone, he definitely feels like this was the 1.0 and Void Dragon is the 2.0.
Yeah.
When you look at them next to each other, this is how my shelf at my brother's house looks with these guys together. Although my Void Dragon is still in pieces. So we can't see how short the rest are, really.
Your Void Dragon's absolutely the coolest out of all of them, and it's not even fully built.
One day I'll finish him.
Yeah, so I mean, obviously, they need an update. I think the Transcendent needs some fixing, but like it's fine.
Deceiver is the worst thing ever. Just put 5 bananas on your head.
I think the Nightbringer is just as bad. Here's a random dude that's screaming with a cape, and we gave him a 6-pack.
Nightbringer is more beloved as like a thing, which is why everyone hates his model more, because it feels like a more of a letdown. No one actually likes Deceiver. Like, he's just a prick. But he's the worst model of the two, in my opinion.
Yeah. Oh, man. Well, moving on to Orks.
Orks, I thought would be hard. It looked hard at first until I started seeing the older models and remembering old Orc aesthetic versus new Orc aesthetic. It's night and day.
It is, but I like the old Orc aesthetic.
It ages better than things that are not meant to be goofy.
Right, and that's the thing is, like, Orcs are so much the grim derp part. They get the derp. They play into it, and it's to their advantage. And that's why, like, a bunch of the old sculpts are like, it's kind of stupid looking, but it's an Orc, so sounds good. And, like, I chose Grotznik. I still like them. Like, I think it's still got that derpy charm, and I like it, but I want an update. So maybe this is a way to say there's going to be an update soon. You've actually got a few.
I'm not as kind as Eric. I have a couple that I was looking at and one that I ended up picking. Obviously, the Stompa is probably the correct pick, but I've never seen one in person. I have heard horror stories of how bad the kit is, and it just doesn't look very good. I've seen some pictures of it online, but it's not the same as seeing one in person to really judge it. But I've heard the Stompa's bad.
But also perfectly in character for Orc. So
I was going to pick Orc Ludas, which is what's currently in the show notes.
I actually really like the guns. They're super cool to me.
I'm not going to pick them. My last 3 here, 2 of them was Tank Bustas and Ludas. And Tank Bustas won out simply because of the one that has the hammer with a rocket on it. Because it just makes me laugh.
Oh, yeah, he's awesome. It's like, what are you doing with that? I'm going to go bust a tank.
Like, the unit's unusable because the forced loadouts of that's what the kit comes with, so you're stuck with terrible loadouts that don't match.
It's hilarious, though.
But look at him. He's got a rocket on a stick and he thinks it's a hammer. It's adorable. So Tank Busters look old and derpy and not very good, but that joke saves them. And I ended up picking Ludas to start with when we put these show notes together, because in my eyes it's just Tank Busters, but without the funny.
Yeah, but like those guns are so cool. Like I don't know, man. I've played Ludas in like a lot of my lists that I probably shouldn't have just because I like the guns.
And I think the thing for me though, and why I just audibled, is the last one on my list I have no love for. And the Ludas I still have a little bit. They look old and bad, but they're kind of cutesy in that derpy orc way. But the knobs have no redeeming factor.
All right, yeah.
I had them like 5% more than the Ludas, but the Ludas are funnier.
Yeah, like that is kind of the thing of like the Ludas, they've got the charm, and the knobs,
they're just ugly.
They're just knobs.
They're very generic. They're basically just, it's the old orc boy kit, but slightly large.
Right, and I don't hate it, but out of the options that you've brought up, Tank Busters they've got some charm because of stupidity. I like the Luda guns. The Stompa's a Stompa. The knobs are, yeah, okay.
They're just lame.
There's nothing like really drawing to be like, yeah, the knob's super cool because of, right? Like there's none of that because of part.
Yeah. I get old boys are a classic, right? I don't like them, but they're a classic. Knobs I also don't like, and I don't feel like anyone thinks they're a classic.
Nah. I mean, there's probably some people, but like it's not the same. Like the old boys are a classic. Maybe it's not your thing, but you gotta respect it to a certain point. The knobs don't have that. So, and I appreciate the fact that you didn't throw the Ludus under the bus on this one and chose the knobs instead.
You were slightly upset when I pasted them into the document.
I was a little upset, and I was like, I mean, he's wrong, and I'll let him have it, but he's wrong still, so it's okay.
All right, let's move into guttural stop. Ow.
Awful. Just awful. All right. I'll start. We've got the Ethereal. I don't think it's particularly bad. It's just so boring. I think it's ugly.
It's fair. It is just boring. He's got his big hooves. He's in a very basic pose. He's on a flying disc, but the disc is essentially on the ground.
How did they make the fact that he's flying on a disc boring?
I know.
There's some things that it's just like, it's such a cool concept and you've made it as lame as possible.
Yeah, I get picking the ethereal, and it's a solid choice.
But I think you've got a little bit of a better one.
To sandbag mine for a moment, an honorable mention that almost made the list. It's not the worst thing in the faction, but grading on the scale, crisis suits are just the worst battle suit.
Good lord.
And yet they are the cornerstone of like most Tau lists. They're the end all be all. You put these in first and then you build the rest of the list.
Remember, send all of your hate mail to bricky@gmail.com.
That's probably some random person's email too. Don't do that. That's not Bricky's email, I don't think.
I can't. It's probably not. No. It'd be impressive if it was. But good lord. Fucking, we almost made it through this list without any actual pipe bombs being mailed to us, Brad.
Yeah, the crisis suit is just old and janky compared to how it should look. They need to update that kit. They need to have it have more of Farsight's ideas behind it, like the new Farsight sculpt.
Yeah.
But anyway, it's not actually the pick. It's a runner-up, and I feel like it had to get, like, called out. You are too close to the bottom for how important you are. But the actual bottom for me is the Sunshark Bomber. The AX-39 Sunshark Bomber, I should say.
Hold on. Say the full name.
It's so stupid. It's a bad plane. Tau should have plane aesthetics down. They're supposed to be like the hypermobile faction. And it just looks like their tank, but in the air. And it has like stabilizing rods because they couldn't get the design right.
It doesn't really make any sense on so many levels.
And I feel like they know that like their planes and tanks and Tau are not that great because they still use the old paint jobs on them on their website. They haven't been updated to the white Tau colors.
Yeah, this is pretty egregious.
Okay, so like let's look at it for a moment. I'm not a big fan of the Piranha. This has the same general shape as the Piranha. It's a thinner, not so great looking devilfish that because they thinned it, it looks like the Tau engineers screwed it up and had to put the stabilizers on it. So it has like two pipes going through midair on the sides.
And like, this is a bomber, so why did you remove all of that potential cargo area? But sure.
It's just the worst vehicle in Tau.
And like, do you not like the fact that there are two like just drones on the wings?
I don't hate drones in the wing aesthetic in Tau. I let that slide. I think it's kind of clever. Yes, there's no reason it can't be a stationary gun. Yes, if the drone leaves, why did you have the drone leave instead of stay as a gun on your main unit? And when it blows up, two drones popping out means nothing, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
But like, it's a freebie design choice that I don't have too much issue with in Tau.
All right, fine.
Of the problems, it's like number 86.
So much more obvious in this because the rest, like the whole back end of the plane is missing. So it's like, oh, there's two drones. That's basically the plane.
Yeah, I totally get that also annoying people, but it's not the thing that annoys me. It is worth noting, though, when I'm naming the Sunshark Bomber here, I haven't gone crazy. The Kroot dogs that are the ugliest thing ever are fine cast. I can't pick them. I can't pick Vespids. They're fine cast. The other ugly model you're wondering about, I can't pick. I actually like the new Kroot, the Kill Team Kroot, and they do come with two hounds. So like if you turn them into like just fancier looking Kroot and then use those hounds for hounds, then you could argue that there are good looking hounds already.
And I think that that's where I was like, yeah, I agree the Kroot hounds are bad, but like there exist good ones, kind of. Yeah, I don't know. It's a weird gray area on that one.
I expect for a lot of people it'll be a random Kroot or a Vespid for their least favorite. And I totally get it. I couldn't pick the hounds or the Vespids, which are the two things I don't like.
All right, we're to the final stretch. We've got Tyranids.
Yeah, this is our last one. Yours shocked me a little. I feel like we both hate each other's pick.
Yeah, and the thing is like, I don't even dislike it that much. I generally like the mid range, even some of the kind of older derpy ones. I like them.
He liked Raveners. I made sure he saw them.
Yeah,
I do. He
do.
thinks they look fine. He sees nothing wrong with them.
Something about art is an opinion and subjective, and you know what? Fine. I'm not a huge fan of the Barbgons.
And I love them.
And that's fair. I can absolutely see, like I look at it and I'm like, yeah, I'm sure that there's a lot of people that like the little doggo kind of thing.
Yeah, and they've got like the boombox artillery unit thing that's like glued to them.
And that's what I hate about it, honestly. That's the part that I'm like, I don't like that.
Yeah, I get you.
Doesn't seem right. But like, it's not even like I don't hate this model. Like, it's a perfectly fine.
It was just your least favorite.
It's my least favorite, and it's because of that, like, what you call the boombox thing.
The boombox artillery.
Yes, that's the thing that I'm like, I wish it wasn't there, and then I would like it more.
No one who listened to us at the beginning of 10th edition is shocked by my least favorite. It's the Screamer Killer. I hate the Wharfhead so much.
I actually kind of like that.
I know it's so dumb that it kind of comes back around. Some people might like it, but I despise it.
And that's fair.
Yeah, the Wharf haircut does not do it for me on what is supposed to be like a scary Carnifex dude. Like, it's just worse than an original Carnifex design-wise.
The original was really fucking cool.
We say original. We don't mean original that was the Screamer Killer's interpretation. We're talking about like the standard Carnifex that Old One-Eye is.
Oh, I mean the original.
You mean the original?
Yeah.
You're an idiot.
No, it's fucking awesome.
I think the Screamer Killer is a downgrade from the more bug-like Carnifex.
That's fair, and I can accept that, but I don't have as much of a hatred for that hair style, face, forehead.
I love that you accidentally called it hair still, too.
Yeah, I was like, hold on a second, that's not what it is at all.
You know. All right, that is the last faction, though. We made it through all of them.
We did.
This is a long recording.
It turns out there's a lot of factions, and honestly, pretty solid overall. Like, I was shocked on how many factions. I was like, I only have either nothing or just like one or two that I don't like.
I could have been meaner had I not limited myself to non-Finecast. But I feel like it's too easy if I pick 20 Finecast models in this list, which you can do so in the comments and tell me all the ones you hate, and I will probably agree with you. But like, it was too easy. It would have been a very boring episode if I was forced to pick the actual worst model, which is probably a 25-year-old Finecast.
Yeah, which I think that a bunch of those are pretty obvious, our opinions on. And it's just like, all right, yeah, it's Ancient, it's Finecast, or it's Forge World, and it's just like, nope.
Yeah, so I like the limits I gave myself. It really made me think about, like, of things in the normal plastic range, what do I consider worst? And I came up with somewhere like, I actually might hate this worse than the Finecast ones that are in this range. And then I had others where I feel like bad being like, it's the worst, but it's not bad, guys.
Yeah, I do actually look forward to seeing what some of the comments are.
Yeah.
on like their own, like, this is the worst one, or like just the sheer hatred that some people are going to be like, I cannot believe you chose my favorite model as your ugliest.
And props to GW. While a couple of new models ended up in this list for us,
yeah,
newer factions tended to be the ones where we didn't know what to pick because they were all pretty good.
Though part of it is because there's just not as many models to choose from.
But you feel like on a whole they're more level. They've got new factions figured out. They've got cohesive identities. They don't really miss as hard as they used to.
There's a clear level of like, it has to be at least this good kind of thing, instead of like, just ship it.
Yeah, and I feel like even if you don't vibe with one of the factions this newer, like, a lot of people won't like Genestealer Cults.
Right.
You can at least stare at it and go, I feel equally about all of them, like or dislike. With Sisters, Genestealers, Votann, World Eaters, except for obviously Karn's old. All of these, it's like, I like the new stuff mostly. AdMech, you didn't even want to pick one.
You look at it and it's like, yes, there might be a problem with the aesthetic personally, but like all of the models hit right, you know? Like, you can look at it and be like, if I liked that aesthetic, that would be a good model.
All right, but enough rambling though. That was our list. Feel free to share yours. And remember, don't take this stuff too seriously. Please don't fight each other in the comments. That would just be the worst.
The most cringe did.
Eric got it right. Yep.
That'll show them youngins.
Let's get out of here.
Sounds good.